Have you ever been called the face of something? You may be a drummer in the high school band and someone may say, that person is the face of the percussion section. Or someone may be the face of the whole band. Students here may have in your circles of friends someone who is the face of gamers in your circle of friends. What are you the face of? We're all the face of something. In a committee, we may be the face of logic, or the face of impatience. We may be the face of the prankster, or the planner, or the face of good conscience in some groups. Someday you may interact with the Lubbock City Council as the face of a particular community concern. Or in other contexts, you may be the face of your family. Or you may be the face of your profession. You may be the face of courage in some instances, or the face of determination, or the face of retreat. What are you the face of? We're all the face of something. In the Scopes monkey trial in 1925, a Tennessee high school teacher named John Scopes was placed on trial for teaching evolution in violation of state law. Now, what was John Scopes the face of? And the prosecutors in that case, they were the face of what? I mean, one might say that science and religion came face to face in that courtroom, in that trial. Are you the face of anything? We're all the face of something. Some cultural icons have faces that speak for themselves. Sigmund Freud, for example, has to be thought of at least as a face of psychology. Rosa Parks is at least a face of civil disobedience. Lady Gaga, a face of pop culture, at least a face. Bernie Sanders, at least a face of static electricity. Can you think of others? What about Moses? Most of us get that Moses is the face of God's holy law. But what about Elijah? He's a bit less well known. His story is in 1st and 2nd Kings, or 1 and 2 Kings in Donald Trump's Bible. He's a man who risks his life tirelessly speaking in behalf of God, calling Israel away from compromised purposes and wasted loyalties. Elijah is the face of God's holy desire for all of creation. Elijah is the face of God's holy prophets. So what then are we to make of this biblical scene when Moses, the face of God's holy law, and Elijah, the face of God's holy prophets, and Jesus, the face of God's holy love, all come face to face. Well, maybe, as the great preacher Fred Craddock once said, we should resist the temptation to reduce scenes like this to fit the contours of our experiences. Maybe instead we should just hold up passages like this in front of ourselves in their full extraordinariness and just linger there in awe of their mystery and their power. But before we go away, let us be reminded that there is a fourth face in this scene. The church's own face is also in this scene. It's represented in the faces of these disciples who would be gifted with this vision of Jesus transfigured as God's holy law and God's holy desire expressed through the prophets and God's holy love all come face to face. What is the church the face of? Certainly the church is the face of something. Luke begins this passage by telling us that this all took place 8 days after Jesus had explained to his disciples what was just ahead. Listen to him, is what the voice from the cloud said. Listen to Jesus. Let what he told you about what's at stake and what's coming, let that sink in. This is important. And it's easy to get this wrong. So listen. Listen to Jesus. And in this way, the Transfiguration calls disciples, who are the face of the church, back to the realities of our vocation. We are called by Jesus to follow Jesus through life, not around it. Through death, not around it. Through resurrection, not around it. As witnesses to Moses and Elijah and Jesus, we have been in the presence of something truly glorious. That we have seen something glorious, however, does not give us superpowers. We still need to listen to Jesus. We still have to depend on Jesus because we have to come back down from that mountain. We have to come back down to where people are in need. We have to come back down to where people are sick, back down to where people are selfish and greedy, back down to where people are harmed by power, back down where the church, we simply must confess, has sometimes been the face of that power, has sometimes been the face of that harm. We must come down from the mountain where the season of Lent awaits us. A season that begins on Ash Wednesday when the face of the church is smeared with an ashen sign of a cross. But on this day, this Transfiguration Sunday, on this day we are Christ's disciples, astounded at the glory of God revealed in Jesus, and knowing that We are to be the face of something very, very important. We are disciples who hear the call. Listen to Him. Listen to Jesus. This is so important, and it's so easy to get this wrong. So listen to Him. Listen to Jesus. We conclude the season after the Epiphany and enter Lent, not with a sense of heaviness and dread about what we may give up for Lent, but instead we enter this solemn season graced to expect God's holy law, God's holy desire, God's holy love to shine in our faces and ignite our hearts as we seek to follow that one in whose face we have seen God. In the name of God, who is and was and is to come.